to the verdict. And I'm just going to say it. I had fun. Would I recommend it to someone else? Like, if you're in 1990, yeah, have a blast with it. You know, enjoy your simple platforming. If it was available via a remastered version, you know, I would definitely check it out to see.
Dude, you gotta try out that fucking download, man.
That's definitely gonna play the Noid 2 for sure.
Enter the Void.
Check that out. But yeah, you know, this was always a nostalgia play for me. I'm glad I finally beat it since this was 100% a rental. I did not beat it before, so it was nice to kind of get there. The focus, like I mentioned, on the pizza eating contest, actually finally beating it was very satisfying after having failed multiple times and going back through and having to like spend much more time on the platforming instead of just kind of flying through. Because at first I was kind of unsure, like, this game seems easier than I remember, and I was kind of flying through things at first, but then when I realized, hey, I'm flying through because I'm missing stuff, I'm skipping things. I didn't even get the whack-a-mole game that you saw. There were certain pickups I didn't get until later. And so you can definitely play this game a different kind of way, but if you don't have that focus on the pizza eating contest, it's going to be tough when you have to focus on those. So I like that it put more, made you be more thorough on the platforming levels, and so I appreciated that. Again, they could have done a much better job of explaining that. The manual was woefully inadequate in this respect. If they had changed the manual, I would think it's definitely a solid game by Capcom. The graphics were really fun. The verbiage is really fun. I still had a good time with it. I'm expecting you feel slightly differently, though.
Well, you didn't say. Are you saying you're giving it the blessing?
I'm giving it the blessing.
Whoa. Yeah, no fucking way. Some of the platforming sequences are not bad, but it never comes anywhere near feeling as good as a Mega Man, a DuckTales, a Little Nemo, a Mario, games that I think are blessing caliber action platformers. And it is funny to me that three of the titles, that came to mind for that list, I was not thinking Capcom as I was cracking them off, but for the notes, but
they are all Capcom.
Yeah, it's funny to me that it is also Capcom, but is a bastard child Capcom game, and that it wasn't developed in house. So it's the funny dynamic of that to me, that it's just again so renowned for this type of game and comes up short in so many ways, and like that, all of those games, too. Well, Little Nemo, I guess, doesn't. It was not boss battle focused to the same degree. But Mega Man, that's everything. Mega Man's entire franchise is based on that idea. DuckTales was certainly boss battle focused against the major characters, So it's, again, just another thing. It's just so contrary to what is expected of Capcom. And I would hate to think that is fueling any of this. I don't think so. I think I'm being impartial as far as my perspective on it. But it is certainly interesting that the things that it lacks in so much are these Capcom staples, And yeah, we already have kind of beat the horse to death, or beating a dead horse, rather, with the pizza eating contest stuff. It is such a novel idea, and I enjoyed the thinking they encouraged at times, but having one of those every other level completely eliminated any sort of real-time boss battles at all. Like, again, I didn't even think about the math of it, but the fact that that last two levels have one in each of them, and that there wasn't some action-based something for the end of the game to give, because I always talk about that payoff, that feeling, and you said you got it from winning the last pizza contest and like what was required of that, and I can hear that, but just, I guess, which is funny, action platformers are not like, well, oh man, I fucking love action platformers. It's not like that's like I have this like hard staple of things I expect, or stable of things I expect from that kind of game, that like, I'm into these all the time and we need to hit these beats and yada yada yada, but like I do feel like I need some sort of action based payoff to the end of the game. That I'd never thought about an alternative to that, and whether it would displease me or dissuade me from wanting to recommend this to someone else, or truly enjoying it, or getting that satisfied feeling of beating at the end of the game. And granted, I didn't beat the end of the game, so I'll just concede that caveat too to this perspective, that part of why I didn't feel that satisfaction, maybe I would have if I would have done that work of looping back through and that being the stand-in for that action-based boss battle moment that you would normally get from this kind of game. Maybe, but I don't think so. I really don't think so. And one thing that was, I think the music also not up to par with Capcom at all.
It's
a couple
decent,
good tracks,
but I don't love it. Yeah, a couple good tracks. I did not have a lot to choose from that I was very happy with.
Right? Yeah, it is not. And it's funny too. The ones you liked, those. I'm telling
you, man. It's nostalgia. I completely will concede the point. If you didn't grow up knowing that this Noid was like the mascot and like where this came from, it's kind of like, all right, you got to kind of like mini games or strategy card game. Call it a strategy card game. You kind of like that interspersed with your platformer to enjoy it. Whereas like if without all that, just coming in blind, it's kind of like, I don't know about that.
Let me ask you a question. Did you know, when you do the music, at least in this case, I guess it doesn't matter what you do normally or what tends to be the case, but in this case, because in my mind, the Stage 11 track you liked, or you picked, and the Stage 5 track I picked are the only two that are really selection worthy in this entire soundtrack. Did you look at my selection before you started doing music and just never even considered it for that reason, or did you? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
I would look over. I don't want to double count them yet.
Right? Yeah, I would love for you to have been like, I picked 5, and then noticed you had on the list and fucking had to pick something else. I would have loved to hear that because I really do think those are the only 2 tracks that I actually enjoyed. It was all very repetitive, and again, because so much of the game feels that way, anyways. Like it only exacerbates that.
I see.
Mundanity, of playing through what I think is for. I don't know. I don't want to say that the variance doesn't warrant the length of the game, but again, it's just the pizza.
It was longer than I remember. It was longer than I expected it to be. I will say that there were more levels.
Yeah,
I did not expect it to be as long of a game as it was.
Yep,
that was funny.
Yeah, without some, just like you put, man, without some heavy nostalgia nudging you otherwise, I don't think this is something worth digging into in a modern day gamer at all. And I think the people's faith in King Lorik would suffer mightily if he were to bestow the blessing unto a game whose memorable attribute is mundanity.
That's fair.